All right, good morning. It is the final trading session of the year. And who will win, the bulls or bears? Because yesterday's stocks finished lower. So, what's in store for today? Also, the CDC says don't go on cruises. So, what's happening to cruise lines? Is there any hope for Alibaba? What's happening to Neo? And we also want to show you what happened to Apple, Google, Microsoft, Tesla, and all these good guys this year. All right, so today is Friday, December 31st, last trading day of the year. And this good looking guy here is my head coach, Mark Hodge. I'm Marcus Harkotter. Together, we have more than 47 years of trading experience. So every morning we sift through a mountain of news websites, newsletters, and reports, and then we take the most important news and go live right here to share with you what you need to know as you head into your trading day. Now, if this is your first time here, I know sometimes it can be overwhelming, so don't worry, we have a special video just for you that I will link to in the description, and that's a great place to get started. So, Mark, let's talk about the stocks yesterday. So, looking at the S&P 500, did not make record highs, even though it looked pretty good throughout the day.
It was a bit of a change of events from the beginning of the trading session, like you mentioned, Marcus. We popped higher, nice start, but we finished lower, down a third of a percent, and a lot of this slide coming in the last hour of trading. So sideways, a typical session as we head into the holiday, the New Year's holiday, where things are kind of quiet and sideways, but a bit of a dip heading into the close. For the week, you could say the Santa Claus rally is still intact at this point. As we head into today's trading session, the S&P is up 1.1%. So still positive for the week, but a little bit of a sell-off going into the close yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, on super light volume. So let's see
Sure.
what made headlines yesterday. I mean, the CDC says that people should avoid cruise travel regardless of vaccination status. And you would think that this gets its cruise lines really hard, but I see yesterday, not really. I mean, look at this, down 1.25% for Carnival Cruise Lines. RCL, Royal Caribbean, down 1%. I mean, honestly, I was a little bit surprised by this, that cruise lines didn't take a much bigger hit. When you have a headline like this, where the CDC says, don't go on cruises. I mean, they have cruises booked over the next few months, right?
I felt the same, Marcus. When I saw that headline, I was thinking, "Oh wow, I wonder what cruise lines look like." And I immediately went to the charts. And yesterday, at the time, it was muted, nothing, like no reaction. So a bit of a surprise, but that's why you trade what you see, not what you think, right?
Yeah, and if you look at the weekly chart here, it seems that a lot of this is still baked in because you see, cruise lines are still trading below pre-pandemic levels here. So I think it's still baked in, but I was surprised that we didn't see a stronger reaction to this. And talk
Agreed.
about strong
Agreed.
reactions. Biogen, BIIB. I mean, they had exciting 2 days here, right?
And this is rumor driven and then taken off the table. And so shares of Biogen slid after Samsung denied a report in South Korea media that it was in talks to buy Biogen. And it's kind of been back and forth. Huge rally and then a pretty big pullback. Looks like pre-market. We're down just a little bit after, so not really moving a whole lot pre-market, but down 7% yesterday.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. Okay, we got to look at Baba because Baba really interesting yesterday. Big day for them. Alibaba moved up 9.72%. And do you see the news here?
I did. So this comes on news that the that Baba is considering selling 30% of its stake in social media advertising company Weibo to state-owned Shanghai Media Group. And so this is a Bloomberg report. So selling, part of its stake, and it looks like investors in Baba thought that was a good idea since they were up almost 10%
Yeah, and as we
after
sorry, go ahead.
they didn't quite make lows of the year. It looks like lows were made on December 3rd, but Bob was just having a rough year.
Yeah, and I mean, this is where I switched to a weekly chart, and we see since basically last October when they made these highs. I mean, they've been sliding down from a high of what around 325 to now 122. So that's a pretty significant slide here. But I mean, let's see. So maybe this year is where they have found a bottom at around 110. We'll see. I mean, this is just these Chinese stocks. I mean, they're just crazy. Let's take a look at another Chinese stock here, Neo. Yesterday, out of the blue, popped almost 15% higher.
And Marcus, I was trying to find some information on this, and I didn't see any catalyst specific to yesterday's move. But the day before on the 29th, Neo did make lows of the year. So maybe it was a little bit of buying that just kind of snowballed into a bigger event. I really just didn't find anything specific to account for a 15% jump. I mean, that's huge for Neo, but they were coming off of lows of the year.
Right, and that's usually what we see around this time of the year. I mean, towards the end of the year, that there's some rebalancing of portfolios going on, right? And so somebody might have sold, I don't know, maybe Tesla, who knows, and tries to get into Neo. So these are just speculations here, but we'll see. Neo also had a pretty rough year. If you look at what happened here since February, sliding down from 65 to 32, so down 50%. And right now, we'll see if they find a bottom here and if they can pop higher and go back into the range between, I want to say, what, 40 and 60, somewhere around here.
Yeah, and they're looking to enter the U.S. market. So maybe there's some interest heading into the new year, and that could have accounted for it.
Yeah. So heading into the new year, what will traders focus on? I mean, obviously, we want to see what is happening with the virus and the Omicron variant. But then also, we still have the inflation subject on the table. I mean, this is not gone. It just has been really, really quiet over the last few weeks. But I found this here this morning from Morning Brew that shows the price changes in the last year from October 2020 to October 2021. Four different categories here. And look at this. Gas up almost 50%. Used cars and trucks, 26%. Bacon, dear Lord, 20% here. Why do we have to mention it? So it seems that, yes, we do have inflation. And right now, the focus is really just on the Omicron virus and how that will impact the economy.
It's a big deal, and supply chain issues that I think that potentially being resolved next year is going to be big, but the Fed still has to do something. Right now, I think that story is a little bit on hold as we head into January, but it's definitely going to be an ongoing theme as interest rates need to get raised.
All right. Good. So here's what I thought we can do today on the last trading day of the year. I want to see who's the winner. 2022 performance. So I wrote down some major stocks, the indices, and let's go through this and see who actually had the biggest percentage gain this year. What do you think? This should be fun, right?
Yeah, let's do it. So
S&P
the
500.
S&P
How much did the S&P 500 gain this year?
27.2%.
27.2%. There we go. How much the Dow?
18.9%.
18.9%. Okay. How much the Nasdaq?
22.1%.
All right. So here we
So
already see that the S&P 500 amongst these indices is the clear winner. Now I'm curious,
clearly.
how did Bitcoin do this year?
So Bitcoin 65.3%.
65.3%. All right. What about Ethereum?
Ethereum up a whopping 414.8%.
What? I mean, everybody's always talking about Bitcoin, 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 but look at this. Ethereum stealing the spotlight here. I mean, outperforming Bitcoin by far. And this basically, if we quickly look at the chart before we move on here, I'm switching to a weekly chart here. And if you look at Ethereum here versus Bitcoin, we see clearly that Bitcoin definitely has more volatility than Ethereum here. So Ethereum holding better at these higher levels here at around the 4,000 mark.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm surprised that it was up so much more than Bitcoin. I knew it
That's
was
why I
up
thought it would
more,
be fun to do
but
this.
that much more. Yeah.
All right, so let's see. What about Tesla? How is Tesla doing for this year? Last year's darling. Last year, I mean, just massively, massively up. How did they do this year?
Tesla still a solid year, 51.6.
51.6%. What about Microsoft?
Microsoft for the year,
Before you say
52.
it, before you say it, who do you think out of these five stocks will win? Who made the biggest percentage gain? Oh, you already know because you have the numbers there. Duh.
Well, no, I don't. Oh gosh,
All right,
that's a hard one.
I'll say Google.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Tesla
Okay.
51.6%. Microsoft.
Microsoft. Oh, I just had it. Sorry. Um, Microsoft 52.5.
Oh my gosh, so close, taking the lead over Tesla right now in terms of year performance. What about Google or Alphabet?
66.6.
66.6%. There we go. Okay, Apple. What about Apple?
34.3.
Okay. 34.3 hanging in there. And what about Amazon? I mean, Amazon also a darling last year. I mean, in 2020, stellar performance. How are we doing in 2021?
3.5.
3.5. Wah, 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 wah. Okay,
Yeah.
so not a good year for Amazon. So here, clearly the winner, Google. Okay.
And you would have had me. I didn't put in my vote, but I would have voted Tesla. But I at that point I'd already seen Microsoft had beat
Yeah, and
Tesla.
this is where if you look at Tesla, so Tesla is just super interesting. It's volatile, right? So recently, this is where we had Elon Musk saying, "Hey, I'm selling 10% of my shares." So this is what drove the stock price down. And then yesterday, more bad news for Tesla. Tesla is recalling nearly 500,000 cars due to hoods that could fly open while driving and faulty backup cameras. So, I mean, not good news for Tesla. They hung in there yesterday. I mean, with these news, they're still down 1.4%, which is not bad at all. And this morning, they already seem to bounce back. So Tesla still everybody's darling, it seems.
They're solid. It's a strong stock. It really is.
All right. Now
So you
talking
know what
about
the
some stocks that got hit hard. I mean, Peloton just had a rough year. I'm switching to a weekly chart here so that we can see it. So in January, we were trading at what 170, 175, and right now at 36. And yesterday they had a good day, so they were up 7%. But this morning again down 1.5%.
another hit, and they did get a downgrade. JMP Securities downgraded the stock, so that hasn't helped, down a little bit more. You know what the worst S&P stock was for the year?
No.
Penn.
Penn. Interesting. So Penn also last year high flying darling. I mean, let's take a look here at the weekly chart, and if you look at after the pandemic, they were trading as low as what $5 and soared to $140 from $5 to $140. I mean, wow, that's definitely an exaggerated move here. And yeah, ever since they have been going down. So the year to date performance for these guys minus 40%.
You know what the best stock of the year was?
No, give it to me.
Devon Energy, DVN.
Oh, energy stuff. Well, this is where it goes back. I mean, no surprise, right? I mean, if gasoline is 50% more expensive, this definitely helps energy stocks. But that's interesting. I would not have thought it. So let's see, for the year, and I mean, they had a rough year last year. So interesting, right? I mean, this is where it goes back to, okay, should you bet on the winners of last year? And we'll talk about this. So year to date, 176% performance. So, Mark, we talked about it yesterday. One of the popular strategies that some people and also some hedge funds are deploying is the dogs of the Dow. So, what is this all about?
Sure. So the the dogs of the Dow in its simplest terms, is looking at the Dow 30 stocks and looking at the worst performers, right? So that's like just the simple term. So it's contrarian, right? The stocks have been beaten up. Let's pick the worst performers and see how they do next year. Because if they're in the Dow 30, they are most likely going to stay in the Dow 30 at least for another year. Taking it a little bit further, it's adding the highest dividend payers that got beaten up, right? So you're still, if they're still paying a dividend, they should be, doing okay with their bottom line. Otherwise, they'd be cutting that dividend. So that's just one extra twist. And over the years, it's paid off to be a viable strategy. I don't think it outperforms other strategies that we'd be trading, but it has its worthiness.
Yeah, and I mean, especially if you look at this, if you would have looked at Devon over 2020, it was probably in the bottom of the S&P 500. I know that you've been talking about the Dow, but I mean, this also applies for the S&P 500. And then it became the top performer. And on the other hand, I mean, you mentioned it, Penn, who had just a phenomenal 2020. And so definitely being in the top of the S&P 500 for 2020, now in the bottom. So, I mean, it's an interesting strategy. Now, we like to trade other strategies. And if you're interested in the strategies that we are trading, take a look at these videos here. And if you enjoyed this video, well, subscribe to this channel. Anyhow, we wish you Happy New Year, and we'll see you again next week.
Have a happy new year, everybody.